I'm here with the greatest minds in horror that bring you some of the creepiest, nastiest, and all-around fun shit at Dark Horse Comics. We got Mr. Steve Niles, Mr. Eric Powell, and Mr. Paul Tobin. Can you guys sum up Comic-Con in one word this year?
One word?
That we can say on.
Yeah, you can say it.
Say it.
Horror.
Horror.
Horror. Yeah, I think that works.
Now, so you guys can agree there is some kind of resurgence in horror comics now, as opposed to there's always been around.
That's just horror in general. It's up and down, but I think we're definitely doing better because I think we've kind of, we were talking on the panel. We come more from the creepy, eerie school as opposed to for years all horror comic books was really kind of riffing on the EC, thing, Tales of the Crypt kind of thing, and now there's a lot more just storytelling going on.
Right, I think character is back in horror. I think for a long time gore was kind of like the thing in horror, but now I think, like, largely because of these guys, and the character and actual story rather than just shock is back, and I think that's really important. And I think that's part of, I don't know that there's a resurgence, overall, but I think it's more at the forefront. There's always been this following for horror, but I think now it's a little maybe more in the mainstream and more acceptable because of the storytelling that's going on.
And I think, it's more than just horror. There are lots of different types of comics being made now, more though than I think probably ever. And I think, horror just happens to be one of those things that's like, wow, look at all these books coming out. Well, there's also a lot of, books that maybe female readers might like or something else, and it's just there's lots of different kinds of material coming out now that needs to be pushed.
So out of all the genres you guys could have gone to write, why horror?
Well,
I write a lot of different genres, and horror for me, I like that edge. I like that there's an edge. I like that you can do anything. If you want it to be an axe in the door, you can do that. But if you want it to be an entire different reality breaking down the door, you can do that. So there's a real freedom to horror, and I like that pounding tension that comes overall.
It's fun to scare people.
It's a lot of fun to scare people.
It's fun to scare and creep people out. It really is.
I like drawing monsters. That's basically my answer. I like drawing monsters.
Drawing just a guy beating the shit out of another guy.
Yeah.
What was the single moment in your lives where you guys realized you wanted to do horror?
Well, my family was murdered.
Sorry. You almost killed me.
You know what? Honestly, when I read I Am Legend as a kid, it was one of the first books that anybody could get me to read, period. And I read that, and I was just like, this is amazing. It changed my life.
I was always into horror movies and stuff, so it was like, that's just what I've always gravitated towards.
For me, I can remember being really young. It was one of the first times I was left on my own. And there was a zombie movie on TV called Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time my parents came home, I was literally in the kitchen with a knife. And I lived way out in the country next to a graveyard, so it was terrifying for me. And I've always sort of tried to recapture that feeling, because it was even though I was terrified as a kid, it was a great feeling because I felt alive and I felt connected. I felt like I could be killed at any time, but it was an excitement that I really like to bring.
Wow. That's a different take on it. Usually, I guess that's why I don't write horror. I would just run when I feel like that. But let's see, where's my other question? Okay, so you guys went into writing comics and became successful in your own rights with your books, mainly created your own for you guys. And have you had
a lot of Marvel and chiefly Marvel, but I'm more and more creator owned at this point.
How do you like that as opposed to working for a bigger company?
Well, I like both aspects of it, but the creator owned thing, almost like what I was talking about with horror, you can do what you want. And when the feedback comes back to you, you can say, that's really interesting feedback, but that's not my book, so push that back because I'm doing my book. And that's a really satisfying feeling.
What advice would you give to somebody that's trying to break into the industry at this moment in time?
Think of another career.
Yeah.
No,
you better love it. You better. You gotta love it.
Yeah, because
if you're doing it to.
If you don't have to do it, quit.
Yeah. But you got to do it because you love it.
And work your ass off, really. You need to work your ass off. And don't think in terms of success being Marvel or DC. Think in terms of success as creating a project and creating another project and creating another project. And there's so many avenues right now. Digital has opened it up, so you can find a place to do it and then just keep doing it.
Now, what did your parents tell you when you told them, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be writing comics?
I still haven't told them.
Yeah, you're outing all three of us right now.
They thought I hung drywall.
Tell me a little bit about Colder.
It's a psychological horror book on the main character, his body temperature. As the series starts, it's like in the 50-degree range. And it's because of supernatural horror reasons, but I don't want to go into. But his body temperature is incrementally going down over time, and he sort of needs to solve the supernatural aspect of it in order to stay alive, because there's a time limit, and if it drops too low, he's gone. And I really wanted the psychological horror more than like, the 10,000-foot tall monster smashing through, or the guy with the axe or something, because I really like the Japanese and Korean horror films of the very, just the oppressive, you're in a vice where it has you and it just keeps crushing you, and I like that sort of horror.
Okay. And it's out now?
It's going to start in, I believe, November.
Ongoing mini?
It's a 5-issue, and then we'll see from there.
Okay. Who designed the cover for the Goon 39?
I designed it.
All of it?
Yeah.
That was all your humor coming
Well,
from?
actually, all of it except for my assistant editor actually came up with the idea of, what you should do in the logo?
Okay.
You should do the DC peel. And I was like, oh, that's genius. So we made it a Band-Aid.
Yeah, the whole cover itself, they sent me the review copy, and I'm laughing just looking at the cover, and it was great, as I expected it to.
Thanks.
Tell me about the Criminal Macabre 30 Days a Night crossover that's coming out.
Well, the one thing I'm saying about it most is because, there's a lot of crossovers people do that they're just kind of fun, And for this one, I'm saying this one's going to have real consequences. And one of either Criminal Macabre or 30 Days a Night, whoever loses goes away.
Oh.
I'm ending whichever series. So there's actually going to be a real loser. It's not going to be like Phoenix rising every 15 minutes.
I think that's awesome. I think horror has to have consequence.
And
there needs to be,
well, it won't work anymore. If people don't believe, that's the thing, superheroes do it all the time. Now people laugh when they say you're going to kill somebody, because they'll be back and
the company spoil that they're coming back before they die.
I know, they always do. So on this, I'm saying, no, this is going to have real consequences. As in, whoever dies, you will never see again.
Well, thanks a lot for your time. Any parting words for our audience? Stay in school.
Got a Red Bull?
You like that?
That's fine. All right, well, thanks a lot.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much.